What's going on, everybody? This is Derek Elston from Ball from Assembly Hall, and I'm proud to tell you that I am Underdog Sports' newest partner. And on top of that, I've got even better news for you. They're currently running a promo right now for all new users. The easiest way for you to get in on this special is by downloading their app using my code BFAH24. That's BFAH24. Even if you've already registered but haven't deposited any money, you can still use the promo. What are you waiting for? Get started today and come play alongside me all season long at Underdog Sports. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Ball from Assembly Hall. Got a little different setup today. My boy C-Watt caught himself a little bit of the flu bug. Don't know how he gets that. Probably sending the girls off to, I don't know, daycare or something. Come back. I hear that's a big thing. We haven't done that yet. We haven't sent Parker off to daycare, but they tell me every time you do that, they come back with a sickness. So sounds like C-Watt got a little bit of the bug. But I wanted to get on here, talk a little bit, and this episode's being filmed right after the Ohio State win. And kudos to IU, man. What an absolute just grit. Finally, we showed some grit there when we went down 12 early, 15 there at one point. Just kind of felt like here we go again. And a lot of this episode, I do want to talk about kind of, former players, what's being said right now about our game against Penn State. But it was easy to see that, this could have been another one of those. This could have been another one of those episodes. Yeah, why not? Of just us talking about like, man, we got down, we showed no fight, we got blown out on the road to a bad Ohio State team. But man, shout out to my boy Malik Renew, absolutely carrying this team on his back. Now, my man deserves a serious shoulder rub because his back has got to be hurting. He has seriously got this team on his shoulders. And look who shows up at the end of the game. I know he's not having the game he wants. We talked about him a lot, Anthony Leal, with the way he played a couple games ago. And he steps up absolutely when we need him. Knocks down a huge corner three. If you guys paid attention towards the end of the game, I hope, nothing serious comes out from Khalil Ware. Looks like he might have got a little scared. I know what it's like to catch that flat tire. So hopefully it was more of a scared thing. But, man, the Hoosiers showed some fight there. It was awesome to get that win. Is it a good win? No. I don't think Ohio State's kind of a win that you tip your cap to and say, like, man, this is going to be huge for us. But it's the Big Ten, and everybody knows that in the Big Ten, all it takes is one win. And especially for us right now, we're searching wherever we can to find one, and for us to find one on the road, it's big time. So unbelievable comeback from those guys. Great win for the Hoosiers, just to get one under their belt, get some confidence going in some of these guys. And we got a tough schedule coming up, so we're going to need every ounce of confidence that we can get. The reason why I wanted to come on here and do this solo, even though Christian being sick, I just kind of wanted to get some stuff off of my chest too, about kind of what's going on with the Hoosiers, who's saying what. Christian and I talk about this all the time on Twitter about how, it's really hard after a game to check Twitter, see what people are saying, because it's all just, they're crushing everybody from the players to the coaching staff to the head coach and Woody. Scott Dolson's getting it from all angles. But, what a lot of people don't understand is, how hard this is. And I say that. And then on the flip side, you see, what Woody says, well, I really don't know these guys. And then you look out and you see a Butler who, Thad Matta's first year going in and finding guys in the portal and how well they're meshing. And tonight they played UConn, and I haven't checked the score, but, they got a huge win up in Creighton without their best player. So, it's easy to, really jump off of this bandwagon But, I think it's pretty cool that I get to talk to you guys and you get to hear it from players with Christian, but also, me being on the staff in the, time that I was there on staff and just kind of go. And Christian and I like to tell stories of how we used to do it and how things used to be like for us. But a lot of these former players get on there and Dan Dockage is kind of one of them. And, he put Christian and I in a tweet, uh, well, I want to say probably 2 weeks ago. And, by no means do I or Christian have any affiliation with him. Me personally, I think what he says is very irrational. It's very emotional. And he brings guys on, some former players on, and they talk about the night days. And yeah, I get it. Those were the glory days of Indiana basketball. But, we've had some good seasons too. And Christian and I being a part of a lot of those. So it's pretty cool that we get to tell our story and, talk about, some former guys and what things used to be like for Christian and I. And, that 10 years ago, I mean, that seems like only yesterday that we were doing that. But some of the things that Dockage says, though, although I say that, a lot of the things that he says are right. And when you look back to the Penn State game, what we did last week and, built a huge lead. Thought for sure this was going to be that one because there's always one in the season where you just catch a team on an off day. Penn State full of, 3-star guys, not very good, new head coach, still trying to figure out them. So for us to build a 13, 14-point lead before the half, yes, I know we didn't take it out like we should have. Penn State, credit to them. They hit a lot of threes there to keep it a game. But you just had that feeling of, we're going to come out at halftime and we're really going to put them into the ground. And to lose the way we did, that's the one thing that I think Dockage, what he said did carry some weight. And one of those things was, what those guys are like when you watch them and you watch them without emotion. And I've got written down here some notes. I mean, we started 5-star, 5-star, 4-star, 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 and nobody, I can promise you, no Hoosier fan really knows who anybody on that Penn State team is. And for them not to come out and get back down or shy away from what we were doing, it's pretty worrisome, honestly. This team, with the access that they have to Cook Hall and we still have those shooting wolves that me and Christian talk about here on this, quite a bit. You almost wonder like what's going on. And there's a story, and this episode is going to be kind of full of stories here. But, one thing that we always did, one of the things that one of our coaches did, our assistant coach, Coach Buckley, we had 8 a.m. classes and Coach Buck would always, after every practice, he would just call out a couple names, Derek, Bobby, Christian. And we knew, okay, we're going to wake up in the morning. We're going to come in around 6:30, get a little bagel in our system. And, it wasn't anything crazy. I don't want to sit there and tell you that, I was going, balls to the wall and we were dying at the end of this workout. But, one thing that, kept getting us better and better and better was the amount of time we were spending in the gym with coaches and just working on our craft. And, Coach Buck would say like, hey, we're not going to be walking around. I don't want you guys to be in a full sweat either. But we're going to do game like reps and we're going to make 200 shots. And when you make 200, get out of here, go to class and be ready to go for practice. And so little things like that just make you, I don't know if I really see that. I can't speak for Christian. But for me, with the shooting woes, and it's kind of crazy, right? Because the writing was on the wall early in the season. And, being a former player, Christian and I both know, like, there is that little bit of you that thinks, like, man, these guys they're just looking at the schedule. I don't want Khalil Ware to be playing 30 minutes in a game versus Army. I don't want Malik to be playing 30 minutes against Army. But you realize, like, holy shit, if they didn't, there's a good chance that we lose those games. And so the writing was on the wall early. And from there, it never has progressed. I think Malik had one game where he goes off and has that one, kind of asterisk game beside his name of, hitting 5 threes or something where he just went crazy. But other than that, like, you just are constantly wondering. Even in today's game, at some point we were 2 for 10 from three, and Galloway is the one that's making them out of all people. It's like, man, it's kind of crazy that certain guys are making shots instead of Mbako. Leo didn't have the greatest game. He hit the three that mattered, but, he wasn't shooting the ball particularly well. Gabe Cupps, we still haven't really seen him really take off and kind of excel the way we thought he was going to. So, with Cook Hall, with what we were doing with our coaching staff, you kind of side eye some things a little bit. What's crazy to me is the Ken Palm rating. And there's a lot of coaches that believe in it. A lot of coaches that think, it's just a number. Who the hell is going to tell you that, this game is going to end 71-73 with us losing? Like, obviously, you got to play the game. But as it stands right now, Hoosiers are on the verge of finishing worse in the Ken Palm than our 2009-2010 season where Christian and I were freshmen. And you guys think right now is bad. Like, this is like PTSD stuff. When I talk about the 10 to 09, 010, 10 to 11 season, that's when I think IU basketball was pretty much at rock bottom. And what I said earlier, we didn't have 5-star. Christian and I, we were 4 stars. We kind of had to build our bodies around what Coach Crean needed us to do at the time. We just needed to get bigger, stronger. I played my freshman year plus 40 pounds. 40 pounds. I still see old videos of me with the knee braces on, and I've got this wrap around my belly because my back it's just killing me 24/7. I haven't had that pain since, but it's just, doing things that Coach Crean needed us to do. And when you look at this team, you kind of wonder, like, what is actually going on? What does matter? And I'll jump back to Dockage too when I say that, because at that time, that 2009-2010 season when we were freshmen, one of the things Dockage did say, I felt to my core. And, he has said some stuff about guys going out to the bars, and I'll get to that here in a little bit. But he was right in saying that when they lost, he was embarrassed. And like I said, I felt that to my core because, when we were that bad, and, mind you, we won 3 Big Ten games our freshman year, 4 our sophomore year. And I might even be giving us a game there. I think it might have been actually 2 and then 3 the next year. It was so embarrassing to go out there and show our face, going to class. It was miserable, absolutely miserable. And C and I will talk and we'll joke about how hard it was when we were there with Crean. And, I don't know, I was there on staff, and I know a ton of kids who, they just didn't have time for class. And I always used to think to myself, like, man, it was worse than losing the way we were losing? Showing up the next day and hearing that you got caught not going to class. It ruined the day for the entire team, right? So we'd just be sitting there on the line, 22s, 17s, make you want to just throw up if you haven't thrown up already. Any way that Coach Crean could throw conditioning in there, because he was trying to build a culture. And that was one of the big questions with what's going on right now. And I've said this on podcasts before. I don't think Indiana can afford to be the school that has, a revolving door of head coaches. I'm not sure what the culture is right now. But at this point, especially after that Penn State loss, like I said, I don't think the Ohio State win does anything for us. So right now, our only chance of making the tournament is if we win the Big Ten tournament. It's never happened in Indiana history since the Big Ten had come out. The Big Ten tournament has come about. So you almost think to yourself, okay, well, if we're going to really just kind of throw the season out, like, you almost want Woody to do it his way, right? You want Woody to take the reins and just say, hey, I'm going to get these guys who I know are going to be here for the next year, and I want to develop them. and I got to get this started right now, or else who knows what the future of Indiana basketball looks like. I certainly don't. And the reason why I say that is because, that's what Coach Crean did. And again, like uh, Dockage, Brian, Todd Leary got on his show last week. Like, those guys are a lot of those guys, I know they love the program. I know it means the world to them, but, Bob Knight's not walking through that building anymore, figuratively and literally, RIP to one of the greatest coaches to ever do it. But those guys he's not walking through that door anymore. And, you have what you have, so you got to get behind this program. And that's ultimately what I want. Like, to my core, I want Indiana to be as fun as it was when we had it rolling our junior and senior year. I just don't know what it looks like on the inside anymore. So I'm just on the outside looking in, hoping that it gets better. But I don't see it. And, a lot of the times for us, we used to be scared to death. You break a rule, you go out and you drink, like even after a win. Our junior and senior year, once we actually got it going and it looked the way that we had set out for it to look, especially our freshman year, I'll never forget the intro where we were saying, like, hey, we're here to change this program around no matter what. That's just the type of player that Crean recruited. And so to see it now, you're just like, I don't know what that thought process is of these players. And for us, a lot of it was scared. We were scared. If we were outside drinking, got caught drinking, you have no idea what would happen to you. And luckily for us, it never really happened. We made sure if we were getting in trouble, we made sure we rolled together in a crew to where it would never come out if we did. Fortunately enough for us, we had a group of guys that were so close knit. Nobody was ever out by themselves. Nobody was ever doing really anything stupid. And I say that because we never got caught. Obviously, we were doing stupid stuff, but we were always in a group with guys who, were looking after everybody. So situations like that, obviously different times, but it never got out because, we didn't allow that for ourselves. So, we got a couple bad apples on the team, have done some stupid things and made some mistakes, but, you always wonder, like, how does that stuff really ever happen when you are just supposed to be so close knit? You've got all these goals. You've got unbelievable players this year. You really do. You've got really good. You think we wouldn't have killed to have a Khalil Ware, a Malik Renew when we were freshmen? We had Mo Creek who did what he did against Kentucky, but, got injured. And, we were good, but we were also going up against dudes that were, competing for national championships. That Ohio State team was unbelievable. Michigan had some really good teams. Michigan State with Draymond, unbelievable. So we knew we were, our backs were against the wall every day. And the funny thing is, I still talk with players. I've talked with the players, but, working in the banking industry, I work for Merchants Bank of Indiana. It's funny because I'll talk to a lot of people. I'll get connected to somebody somehow, and I'll get this question of, are you the Derek Elston from Indiana basketball? And I say, yeah, that's me. And we'll take a meeting and we'll meet, we'll shake hands. And, it's funny to hear that I was, somebody's favorite player. I'm nowhere near the level of Christian, playing behind, Will, Cody, Vic, Jordo. That roster alone right there, it's like, man, if you can outcompete those guys, you're pretty damn good. And so I'll talk to people and they'll say, you were one of my favorite players. And I always think that they're blowing smoke. So I play the game and yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah. And then it gets real sentimental. And they'll say, I know you guys were in the dumps. I know you guys had some really, really hard seasons. But one thing that always sticked out to me was how hard you played and how, like, just what it meant for you. And yeah, a lot of people will say, like, dude, you were scary. Nobody was messing with you. You always looked like you were pissed off at the world and, diving for loose balls and not afraid to get in somebody's face. And I don't know. I guess, for me, I just named off that roster. And then if you want to go even further into our careers, you got Yogi, you got some of the best names that have come through that program in a very long time. I played alongside. So I knew from the get-go, especially when Cody got in there, I was going to play behind Cody. Okay. I don't see myself playing that long, but I know when I get that opportunity to get out there, everything mattered to me. Everything, every rebound, a guy scored on me. I just felt like everybody was just laughing at me. And I'm an overthinker, so that's part of it. But everything just meant the world. And if it was 5 minutes, if it was 20 minutes, I remember Cody got in foul trouble, and I had to guard Solinger for most of the second half when we played Ohio State, and they were ranked fifth our junior year. And I don't want to say I shut him down, but I worked my ass off to make sure he got everything towards the bucket was going to just be the hardest foul he had taken. I wasn't going to let him do anything easy, just because it meant the world to me that Coach Crean had trusted me to be on that floor, and I think that's where a lot of these issues come in. And obviously, I'm a small sample size, but that's what I mean when I say, like, the fans are so frustrated because you don't really see that fight right now. It's hard for people to understand how we could have such a good roster with these 5 stars, and some of these guys are going to take off after 1 year, and then you look out and you see, and it's like, man, that just doesn't really add up, does it? Like, you can be so good, and yet we're going to fall to a Penn State team at home. It's just it's weird that that's even coming out of my mouth, and especially when we talk all the time on this podcast about how hard it is to win on the road. And Leary said it in the podcast with Dockich. He said, like, people knew when you came to Indiana, you weren't going to get a win. And I still think that that's true today. I think 17,000 behind you. Our fan base is unbelievable every game. Even go back to our freshman and sophomore year when we were absolute dog shit. We were selling out because it meant the world that Indiana basketball was taking the court that night. Did we get the win? Obviously, just 3 times maybe. But still, they showed up. And so they're giving it their all to show up and get behind this team. And at some point or another, you got to realize, like, this has to mean more than just, I don't know, the NIL money, what you look like when you go out. Like, it starts with this guy. It starts with the group in the locker room, getting behind one another. And, for some of these guys, maybe it is a little too late. But the younger guys got to take these feelings, especially after Penn State. You lose like that. Like when we lost to Ohio State, I want to say it was my freshman or sophomore year. We were down 40, and David Lighty gets a steal at the end of the game and goes up and tried to windmill dunk it and missed it. And that just, like, Coach Crean obviously was pissed off. We came back to the locker room and he's ripping us a new asshole, but he didn't have to. Like, we had a group of guys in here that we were just like, that is so embarrassing. And then the next game, we had Wisconsin at home, and they did the same thing. So after a while, it just, so many of these embarrassing moments, you just realize, I have to live in the gym so I don't have this feeling anymore. And I hope at some point that switch gets flipped, because we can do it. Obviously, I don't think that this is a good Ohio State team that we got the win, but we got the win on the road. But we've seen it when we played against Kansas. You've seen it from time to time in the Big Ten. Just how do we put it all together, and how do we get a group of guys that just want nothing more than to turn that program around? And now I know I ranted for 20-some minutes. Who am I? I'm a nobody from Indiana basketball. I just lived it. It was my dream to, eventually it turned into my dream to play there, to play in front of my family, to play in front of my home state, to represent Indiana. And, I can't say enough about what it meant to me as a player to put on that jersey and to reap the fruits of our labors. And Christian and I, towards the end of the season, we've already talked about putting together another podcast where we go on and we just tell old stories and, dive a little deeper. I think, statute of limitations will let us talk a little bit more about what we were going through and what Coach Cream was like. And, not to shit on him, just, tell it how it was. That's what we do. We tell it like it was. But it just meant the world to both of us to play. And I know Christian from out of state. But once he finally started to get a taste of what it could be like, it just, I mean, you go to the gym, you go to Cook Hall at 12 o'clock at night, Vic and Seawater are working out. And, I walk in there with Jordan and we got no problems doing a little 2-on-2, a little putting us, grabbing a manager, Seth, Will, grabbing these guys and doing a 5-man workout. That was the culture that we had. And I'm really looking forward to the time where we get that back. But, hopefully that change is coming sooner rather than later. So sorry for the rant. Just wanted to get that off my chest, hear it from, a guy who's done it. Wish Christian could have been in here to, kind of give his 2 cents on it. And maybe we'll talk about it a little bit more when he's healthy. But, we have the opportunity to do it. We've got good players. We've got a great coaching staff. I know everybody's talking shit about them, but they are a great coaching staff. Nobody wants to go out there and lose the way we're doing it. So I know it can be done. It's just, you got to set it now or else, kind of just falls off the rails and you just hope you get a win like you did. That's me. Thanks for listening to my little rant there. Ball from Assembly Hall on all, podcasts, Diesel32 on Twitter, Instagram. I know Christian and I have talked about, getting some questions here from the fan base. So, we would love to talk to you, love to talk to you about what you see out there, kind of give our 2 cents on it and, continue to root these guys on because you know what, although, the tournament might be out of reach, they're still our guys. So we love them. We're going to back them no matter what and just pray for, these wins to keep piling up like they are. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Ball from Assembly Hall.